Chapter 7. Pursuit Through Athens. Following her map, Annalise had led herself and her new tag-along to the second floor of the museum, having snuck in through the many open entrances to the excavation site beneath the building. In hindsight, that would have been so much easier to go through. They could have brought guns that way. But it was too late for that. Next time they had to infiltrate a building, she was going to scour all the Google Street View images.
"Who the hell puts a bomb on the second floor?" Yanni asked. She scoffed. "You really are a solo act. And you're a bit of feckin' gobshite."
"I'm not even going to ask what that means." Annalise glanced at her map. The last ping had come from the other side of a set of marble statues, right in front of the staircase.
"The basement is loaded with wards, though I figured they'd try to hide it better."
She circled around the pedestal they stood on and gasped as she laid eyes on the explosive. The bomb was big. It was at least 3 meters long and made of a metal casing with some kind of alchemically amplified explosive material inside. Even if it weren't strapped to the ground, it would be impossible to carry. Annalise calibrated her ADZ display to measure the bomb's magical heartbeat and estimate a countdown. As the number appeared in her vision, she groaned. 3.5 minutes. She took a deep breath. This had to be some kind of diversion. No one sane would dare try to kill so many magicians at once. Even defectors were still beholden to the rules of magician society at large.
"What is this thing?"
Yanni furrowed his brow.
"I haven't seen anything like this before, but I think I know how it works. It's been soaking up magical energy for the last few hours, I'd guess."
Annalise grimaced.
"Once it reaches full capacity, it'll all come spewing out as fire and explosions."
"The last few hours? Then that thing's got enough juice to level everything from here to the Parthenon," Yanni muttered.
"You're not helping,"
Annalise sighed. She knelt down next to the bomb.
"Help me check it for wards."
Yanni's hands glowed with a soft aura of green magic as Annalise's glowed blue. They probed the device for any charms, wards, or other spellcraft. The strange thing was that there was nothing. In fact, there wasn't even any magic fueling the device. The pings came from it absorbing a bit of magical power from the atmosphere, like a car slowly filling itself with petrol, one pump at a time.
"There's nothing,"
Annalise grimaced. She touched the metal casing and the flat steel sheen shifted slightly, creating imprints of...
"Was that Arabic?"
Yanni asked.
"No, I think it's Syriac, or maybe..."
Annalise's eyes flickered to the countdown.
3 minutes, shit!
There were so many Semitic languages she didn't know them all. She barely knew Hebrew, the one she actually studied. She pulled out her phone and took a photo of the text. The circles could hack her all they wanted. It wouldn't matter if she didn't defuse the thing. She sent it to Henry.
"Noja, what language is this?"
"What?" Henry patched in.
"The photo. It's a ward that's in my way."
Whatever, it's Aramaic," he sighed.
"What does it say?" she asked.
Henry was silent for a moment.
"Noja, do you copy?"
It says your name," Henry stammered. "Your real name. It says, we know what you fear, we know what makes you cry. We know what makes you want to live and what will make you want to die. Are we correct?" A chill ran up Annalise's spine as she looked back at the bomb.
"What is it?"
Yanni asked. She squeezed her eyes shut. Thank God she could compartmentalize. Upon opening them again, Annalise attributed each of the letters spelling out her name to a sound. She looked up an Aramaic dictionary and quickly associated the letters to the sounds in her mind, so she could transcribe them.
"You don't know me, you're bomb," she muttered.
As she said that, the script shifted. She quickly translated the phrase.
"What do you fear more, weakness, danger, or confinement?"
She repeated the phrase aloud.
"What?"
"I think that's how you disarm it," Yanni said. "Whoever made this thing is trying to psych you out." Annalise sighed. "Weakness." The script shifted again, and once again, she had to waste precious seconds translating.
"Where does your pride come from? Achievement or love?"
"Achievement." The next question really sent her stomach roiling.
"Where does your anger lie? In dominance, in sleep, or in fury?"
Annalise furrowed her brow.
"In sleep, I'm not angry."
The script didn't change.
"Did you lie?"
Yanni asked. "Maybe it can tell."
"No, I just..."
Annalise looked back at the timer, 1:30.
"Shit, okay, fury. I don't even know what the hell that means."
She clenched her teeth. This piece of shit bomb was being controlled by some smug asshole safe in his hotel, making her spill her whatever it was he wanted. Who do you hate more, your father or your mother? Annalise punched the casing, wincing in pain. My mother, she admitted through gritted teeth. She would kill whoever made this thing. Did you kill your father? She didn't read that question aloud, simply staring at it with contempt. Yes. She would reverse engineer this bomb, trace it back to its maker, and string them up by their Achilles' heels with fishing hooks over a volcano. The lights in the museum suddenly went out, then turned back on again, flickering to life as quickly as they'd gone off, but it seemed to have nothing to do with the bomb. The hell was that? Yanni asked. Nothing. Focus. The script shifted. The final answer, it said. Say my name. A completely different script from Aramaic appeared on the surface of the bomb. It was cuneiform of some kind. Annalise started to panic. There were so many languages that used cuneiform. It was the only script around for a large portion of history. How was she supposed to know which one it was? She had 30 seconds. It could be Persian, Hittite, Akkadian, Babylonian, Elamite, Assyrian, or any number of undeciphered languages. No, she muttered to herself as sweat dripped off her nose, scrambling to piece the symbols together. She scoured the surface of the bomb for some kind of clue as the timer kept ticking down. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. 7. Wait, here, Yanni said. What's this? 4. Annalise moved next to Yanni and peered at the side of the bomb. An Anatolian sun disk. It was Hittite. She glanced at the cuneiform again. 2 seconds. Hebom Nepots! Hebom Nepots! She exclaimed. The countdown stopped. A moment passed before the bomb started to disintegrate into dust. She collapsed onto the floor in relief. She'd gotten it. Henry stared at the photo on his phone for a moment before squeezing his eyes shut and refocusing on the issue at hand. Whatever Annalise was dealing with, she could handle it. And the ideas? Marion asked as 2 men in suits brought a display case onto the stage. Henry shook his head. Not yet. Good, because I think I have something. The coin sets off a huge burst of magic when it stops touching the purple cloth. It will get the attention of every magician in the venue, and by proxy the guards. But it will only buy us a few seconds, Marion explained. You're fast enough to snatch it, right? Yeah, but that means... Henry eyed her. You'd have to take my coin. If you have any other ideas, I'm all ears. Henry glanced back at the coin sitting on stage. The normal attendees wouldn't even see him, thanks to Solomon's wisdom. But there were magicians crawling all over the place. If he wanted to steal the coin, he needed the distraction. But what if Marion took the Ptolemy coin and left him to die? If he handed it to her, and she didn't set off the distraction, he'd be just as coinless as the other magicians here. That said, he needed all 4 to get anywhere. He sighed. Okay, I need you to take this. But hand it back right after, all right? Immediately. Marion nodded. Understood. Henry still hesitated to hand the Ptolemy coin to her, but he did. He took a breath, turning back to the stage as he cultivated oxygen into chi. He spared a glance back at her. We'll meet up on the 2nd. A thunderclap of industrial noise reverberated through the museum as everything went dark. People gasped and screamed as someone from stage announced, Please remain calm, ladies and gentlemen. Backup power will be on shortly. The lights flickered back to life. The coin was gone. Henry whirled around just in time to see the blue tail end of Wei Ying's robes slip through the front doors. He rushed to chase after him, but 2 guards with assault rifles stopped him. Hey, he has the coin! He tried to explain, but the guards only admonished him in Greek and shoved him back. They needed to find another way out. Henry patched into his radio. Minetta, come in! Yeah, Annalise answered, panting from her end of the radio. Copy. Zhao Squad stole the coin. We need you to track their location and find us a way out that isn't the front door, Henry reported. Basement's a no-go. Staufa Squad is still down there. Right, give me a second, she muttered. Henry put his hand on Marion's shoulder and started guiding both of them towards the staircase. But guards were starting to close in on all exits from the lobby. I think we might have to take crashing this party in a more literal direction, he muttered. Try the 2nd floor. You can get out onto the veranda and drop down from there, Annalise said. The coin's traveling north towards the Siri district. Henry sprinted towards the stairs with Marion right behind. The two guards posted there barely noticed him before his chi-fueled legs launched him towards them. In one lightning-fast strike, he stole both their consciousnesses away. Henry and Marion rushed past and up the stairs as shouts echoed from the hall. "Security's scrambling. Stay on your toes," Annalise said. The two defectors sprinted past 3 stone statues and a myriad of other exhibits, only to be met by 2 security guards as they turned the corner. The guards shouted at them in Greek, aiming their guns. Henry tried to play off his appearance. Wait, I'm lost!" They fired first with no intention to ask questions. Marion ducked for cover. Henry managed to evade the shots with the remains of his chi and grabbed the item from his ear. Its magic activated as the item, no bigger than a paperclip, grew into a 6-foot-long guandao, a massive bladed halberd with serrations on the back end of the blade and a spike on the reverse end of the shaft. He swung the reverse end across, knocking both guards unconscious in one sweep, then shrank the guandao back to its storage size and placed it in his ear before stealing one of the guards' rifles. Marion grabbed the other as they approached the massive floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the front of the museum. Henry managed to hit the glass with the butt end of the rifle, enough to make a small hole, barely big enough for his head, before the bullet hit the window next to him. "It's Staufer!" Marion cried as he turned around. He forced the Germans to dive for cover as he fired at them. Scattered around the room, there was no way for him to stop firing at their multiple hiding spots before one would try to peek out and take a shot at him. Marion grabbed his hand as she threw one of her rune stones through the small hole in the glass. He blinked and they were both falling towards the white veranda. They managed to land softly enough, though Henry's gun slid out of his grip, clattering off the edge of the veranda. The drop from the 3rd floor to the veranda was a third of that, between the veranda and the ground. Marion reported their position to Annalise as Henry pulled a Sharpie marker from the folds of his suit. On the veranda's concrete, he drew the necessary characters and meaning to pull a 5-meter-long silk rope out of the concrete as the material transmuted. Then did the proper combo with his hands for a martial spell calling on Chi-Yu, the god of weapons. From the metal scaffolding, he pulled out a chunk in the form of a perfectly shaped rope dart head. He hastily tied the weapon together, breathing through the fatigue that those simple spells caused him, and stuck it in the concrete. Adrenaline fueling him. He used it like a grappling hook as he jumped off the veranda. His feet hit the ground just as Marion began making her way down the rope. "Where's Jow Squad?" Henry asked Annalise over the radio. "Give me a sec, I'll be there to drive you over," Annalise said. "I can move faster on my own. Mark it on the ADZ." "You want to go after it alone?" "We can't let them escape," Henry snarled. "Jesus, fine," she muttered. Henry took several cultivating breaths, replenishing his energy as Annalise sent the information his way. A marker for the coin, and each of the members of Jow Squad lit up in his vision on the other side of the Acropolis. He finally took a normal breath, gasping for oxygen. Filled to the brim with chi, he knelt in a sprinter's stance. He channeled metal and fire styles at once, imbuing his legs with both explosive strength and supernatural speed. He thought he heard Marion's voice for a moment. Henry launched, leaving a small crater in the ground under his foot. He sprinted faster than any human had the right to. With just metal style, he could sprint as fast as Usain Bolt's best time. With just fire style, he could squat the world record for powerlifting. With the two combined, his muscles could push him to 40 miles an hour on foot. He shoulder-checked a wall of hedges and ran over stone brick roads, his eyes on the nearest historical landmark, the many stacked limestone arches and seats of the Theater of Dionysus. Just past the theater's semicircular rows of seating, he could see the reinforced sheer wall of the Acropolis. He leapt over the back of the stage and climbed the seats 2 rows at a time, breezing past and continuing up the slope of gravel leading up to the megalithic Acropolis. The grass and gravel beneath his feet turned to white limestone as he started to climb the steeper incline of natural stone around the bottom of the Acropolis's wall. He barely gave himself time to breathe before throwing himself up onto the sheer stone brick walls, finding holds in the weathered gaps between bricks. He pulled himself up onto the top of the Acropolis, rolling onto a few tufts of grass at the base of the Parthenon. Getting to his feet, he sprinted through the spotlights, illuminating the Parthenon at night. There was no way in hell he was going to jump off the damn Acropolis, so he took the path down to the Buell Gate, an edifice that, though ruined, was fit to be the entrance to the Acropolis proper. He passed under the gate and hopped over the metal railing that guided tourists up and down the winding path of the stone brick road from a grove of trees sloping down the steep limestone hill. He broke off from the road, heading north through trees, hedges, and over green metal fences as he half ran, half slipped down the uneven, inconsistent slopes of dirt and limestone, making up the bottom of the Acropolis and the top of the Agora. He could see the Stoa of Attilos, a long, thin walkway covered by columns and a roof going all along the east side of the Agora's smattering of ruined foundations. He leapt down to the Agora proper and sprinted by the facade of the building, marble columns rushing by like the green blinders on highway dividers. He leapt over a wide pit of foundational ruins between the Stoa and the metal railings divided by the modern city's streets from the ancient sites. He grabbed the railing, slamming his body into the stone wall supporting the raised roads, and pulled himself over them.
"Holy shit," Annalise muttered over the radio. "You just crossed 400 meters in 20 seconds.
"That's martial magic for you," Henry grimaced as he navigated through the crowds of tourists and locals seeking entertainment for the night. If he tried to go as fast as he'd gone out there in an urban street, he'd definitely break Solomon's wisdom for someone who wasn't meant for it. But the coin was so much closer. Marion scoffed.
"I don't appreciate being left behind, you know."
"You want me to get your coin back, don't you?"
"You're alone with no weapons. You're not going to get it back, Ashloch. You're going to die."
Henry scrunched up his nose. "I'm getting it back." He made it past Monastiraki Square and into the nightlife district, full of clubs and bars where he had been last night. The markers for Jow Squad and the coin headed into a building just a block away. Then they vanished. "Shit," Henry whispered. He pushed his way through the crowds, trying to get to the building. He prayed they hadn't managed to get away, though to whom he didn't know. He burst into the building, even though its windows were boarded up and it was dark inside. It was some kind of abandoned restaurant or bar. And they were waiting for him. Was he confident he could take on Jow Squad? No. Did he have an escape plan if he failed? No. Did he have a plan of what to do next if he succeeded? Also no. But he couldn't let them have the coin. Anyone but them, he would let it go. He could see Wei Ying looking down on him through his Beijing opera mask from the other side of the room. There was no option for diplomacy here. Either he had to defeat them, or the tomb of Alexander the Great would forever be a regret and a humiliating loss in his dreams. Henry willed his guandao to return to its normal size as he took it out of the crook of his ear.
"Looking for this?"
Wei Ying held up the violet-wrapped coin.
"As much as you want the one I have," Henry glowered.
"Honestly, I thought I could just pick it out of the rubble when my bomb leveled the museum."
"He set the bomb?"
Annalise exclaimed through the radio.
"Bomb? What bomb?"
Feng asked.
"Just a distraction, nothing more,"
Wei Ying said to their former mentor.
"I pulled their WAC's attention long enough for us to steal the coin."
"But part of you wishes it would have gone off. Why would you do that?" Henry asked. "You wouldn't have had the chance to beat me."
"Because the prospect of sending you into despair by blowing up a couple of old rocks is almost as tempting as killing you myself," Wei Ying said.
"So, we're just dropping any pretense of familial bonds now." Henry glanced around the room as the other members of Jow Squad emerged from the shadows. He'd hoped for a split second that Wei Ying would insist on a one-on-one fight.
"Hand over the coin and we'll let you leave,"
Min promised. Maybe he'd bitten off more than he could chew. Even with his guandao, he couldn't hold off 6 simultaneous attackers, especially when Feng was his martial superior. Before he could even say yes or no, something from his left slammed into his gut. In a flash, his entire body bloomed in pain as he crashed through the plaster wall of the building, and then through the window of the building across the street with a nasty crunch. Screaming agony stabbed into his wrist and ribs from all sides as he collapsed to the ground. He cursed 1,000 different ways as he righted himself and cradled his wrist.
"Naja, are you all right?"
Annalise asked. Henry had to keep breathing. His father always told him pain came from not breathing enough. He gritted his teeth.
"Naja, do you read?"
Annalise's voice was growing panicked already.
"Naja!"
"My wrist! Fuck! I think it's broken," he heaved. No, I'll be all right, just..." He growled as he tried to do anything other than cradle his wrist.
"Chenboa!" Min screamed from outside. "What the hell did you do?"
"He deserved way more than that for what he's done. Besides, I just did all your jobs for you." Henry tried to stand, but the agony flowing through his body made him want to curl up like a dead spider.
"All right, my ass."
Marion knelt next to him. Henry furrowed his brow. What the hell are you doing here? Marion held up a runestone as the bright blue marking faded away from its surface. She gingerly picked up his arm, eliciting a hiss of pain from him. Your wrist is broken. No shit, Sherlock. What are we supposed to do about it? Henry asked. Marion grimaced, her face full of conflict before she cupped his wrist. Jow Squad was getting closer. Her right palm began to glow. A warm, nostalgic feeling blossomed in his chest as golden light seeped into his broken bones. It was the comforting feeling of cozying up to someone next to a fire in the middle of a snowstorm. Henry sighed in relief as Marion removed her hands. He flexed his wrist, blinking in disbelief. It was as good as new. You can heal people, he muttered. Remember when I said I was too valuable for the Germans to let go? Marion pressed one of her hands to his ribs while she pulled down the neckline of her dress slightly, exposing the patch of skin above her heart, marked by a rune that was reminiscent of the letter S. Once she removed her hands, Henry got to his feet, feeling good as new. He still felt the injuries, but they weren't hindering his movement. She handed him the sheath holding his butterfly swords. I can see why, he muttered as he drew his weapons. I'm going to get the coin. Are you ready to help? As I'll ever be,